everyone, I'm MaryAnn. I'm a voice coach and visual artist from Singapore, currently in Singapore, and welcome to another installment of my weekly vlog series, Find Your Voice. So this is where I share what I've learned in my journey so far as a singer, as a singing instructor, as a voice coach, and what I've learned about expression and what expressing ourselves is really all about, and what this journey is really all about, because it's not really just about singing. It's about how do we express ourselves in our most truest and authentic way. How do we really connect with people? How do we connect with ourselves? And ultimately, I think it's also about finding our capital V voice, which is whatever it is that you are here to express in the way that you live your life throughout your entire lifetime. So if you have questions about this, feel free to ask them in the comments, or you can directly message me through any one of my social media links, which are in the write-ups attached to these videos. So this week I have been going through something really interesting, because I decided that it was time to continue working on my huge, crazy, wild dream as an artist, which is to paint 100 murals around the world. So it's basically a worldwide mural series, and I decided that, you know what, I've been in Singapore for the past year and a half. I'm probably not going to be traveling anytime soon to continue this project, so why not I go do a mural here in Singapore? And there's a lot of excuses that I had given myself for not going forward with this, because I kind of told myself that, Singapore's street art scene is not exactly the most open, and it's going to be a pain in the butt to go get permission for a wall, to get funding for this, and blah blah blah, whatever excuses, right? Anyway, I decided that it was time to do something about it, and to stop stopping myself, basically. And part of the process for this was about me going out into the neighborhoods that I wanted to paint the mural in, and to go talk to someone about how do I go about getting this whole process started, because I know some things but I don't know everything, and the only way to know is to go and find out. And this is really scary for me, because it requires me to come out of my comfort zone and to go talk to strangers. Here in Singapore, talking to strangers is kind of like if I were to approach a stranger on the street, immediately they would be like, what do you want? Are you trying to sell me something? And they would have this immediate suspicion of what's your ulterior motive kind of thing. And so yeah, talking to strangers is not a normal thing here, although it does happen sometimes. But anyway, I decided that I have to confront my own fears around reaching out to people outside of my comfort zone, and I decided that it was time to go talk to some strangers, which are basically people who work at the local community centers. So I basically went into a couple of these community centers in different neighborhoods to ask for information about how do I go about getting permission to paint a wall. And what I noticed is that depending on the person who comes out to talk to me, I would have a different way of carrying myself. So immediately, whenever we interact with people, there will be something that triggers us, and we would alter our behavior and the way we speak according to who this person is. So for example, one of the community centers I went to, the lady was really friendly. She was around my age, maybe a couple of years older. And she reminded me of a friend of mine who is someone that I'm really on good terms with. So immediately I got very comfortable with her, because I projected my friend onto this person, or at least as much as I can tell, because she was wearing a mask, so I couldn't really see her whole face. So I found that it was really easy to talk to her, and I was more comfortable with being myself as a result. And then on another day, I went to another community center, and the person that came out to speak to me was a tall guy. So I had to crane my neck to look at him, which means there's already a bit of intimidating factor. Plus, because he was, he kind of, at least from his expression, he didn't look like he was very friendly. I think I might have interrupted him in the middle of something too. So he didn't seem very friendly, and then And then the worst part was I panicked a little bit, right, when I saw him, because that was an immediate trigger of authority figure, and suddenly it triggers all these feelings of I have to present myself in an appropriate way. I have to put my best self forward kind of thing. Like I'm no longer as chill as when I was talking to someone whom I projected my friend. So now this one was like, I projected like my teacher or like discipline master onto him, right? And then because of that, the need to impress suddenly kicks in. And this is where I start to fumble, because this is where my nerves would start kicking in, and that's where things start to go wrong, right? So the first thing that went wrong, well, it was really the only thing that went wrong, but the thing that went wrong was he introduced himself, and I somehow misheard him and thought he was making a joke, and I ended up responding to the joke because, like that's what I would do. I would, and plus, I was panicking a little bit already, so I responded to the joke. And then he goes, he's totally like not amused, and he goes, that was my name. And I'm like, oh crap. so immediately I'm like, all these thoughts going through my head, like, oh crap, I just blew my first impression. Like, oh, I'm so embarrassed, this is a person's name, it's like a big deal, plus, I was projecting like, authority figure onto him and all that, and inside of me I was just totally freaking out, right? But what was interesting was that I actually didn't panic on the outside, because in the past, if something like this had happened, my whole face would have turned like hot and red. I would be like so embarrassed and it would be all over my face. But I actually was pretty, I could still maintain my composure, and I basically was just like, oh, okay, I'm so sorry about that, and I'm like, okay, just put it aside, and I just basically went straight into my very impromptu spiel of why I was there, and next thing I knew, it was like, okay, the moment passed, and we could have a conversation about the thing that I was working on, and then he actually became more friendly as the conversation went on. Whenever there's an interaction between people, right, like the first thing is that we don't ever see them as they really are, and we don't see the reality of the scenario as it is. We actually see whatever we want to see, which is, we project like our friend, if someone is friendly, or if that person reminds you of your good friend, or you project like an authority figure which scares you if that person, reminds you of a teacher that you once had. And then, whatever projection we have onto these people and the scenario, we automatically adopt a certain persona along with it. And this is all unconscious. This is not something that is totally within your control, because the trigger happens and you just behave in that way. But what was interesting for me was that when I was, and I embarrassed myself in front of the scary guy, I was able to just put it aside and carry on the conversation, and suddenly the fear and was a lot less. And I found that I was able to do that, and I was able to just continue with what I was there for, because I have been practicing in terms of my expression. I've been working on my singing. I have been putting a lot of singing videos online recently. I have, early last year when we could still, have open mic nights, I went to perform at open mic nights. And even as a voice coach, now doing these vlog series, it's not just about me sharing whatever I've learned. This is also a way for me to learn how to better express myself and improve my own self-expression as well. And all of these little things that I've been doing to work on my expression and to also discover my voice, all of that has really helped with me dealing with the nerves and the anxiety, and especially when it comes to interacting with people. And such that, whatever triggers that I get from the different people that I meet, it's actually not as bad as it would have been like a couple of years ago when I would be totally like scared out of my mind talking to a stranger. And in this case, the stakes are much higher for me, because it's not, I'm not asking something on behalf of someone else, because that's always easier. I'm asking for something that is, to do with my project, something that I want to create, so that makes the stakes even higher. And what I found was that I was actually able to maintain my composure even when I messed up, and carry on the conversation as though nothing had happened. And yet at the same time, I'm not being, I'm not like being a scared, nervous wreck or anything. I was just really just being myself. So I found that to be interesting as a progression in my own self-expression, and I know that it would not have been possible if I hadn't been putting a lot of work in expressing myself and in learning how to, share things impromptu on YouTube, and putting myself out there and putting myself on camera, which is something that, just a few months ago I would still have a lot of nerves around, and now it's becoming something that I find it easier to handle these days. So, wherever you are in your journey of your self-expression, I just want to encourage you that, there's so much to learn in terms of expressing yourself. And I hope that, you're not just limiting yourself in terms of, well, I can speak in front of an audience, I'm fine. I don't really need like voice lessons. But it's really a matter of whether you want to improve the way you express yourself, whether you want to improve your ability to handle your nerves in a situation where you have messed up, whether you want to be able to express yourself more authentically to the people who matter to you. And also about, when you are interacting with different people, how can you adapt your persona to who this person is? Or in some cases, how can you learn to put aside the projection that you have on them and really just be yourself and be authentic and true to yourself, no matter who this person is that you're talking to. So there's really so much to learn in the realm of self-expression and in enhancing your voice and enhancing your vocal ability. And ultimately, it's also a journey of really discovering who you are and what matters to you and what truly resonates with you. And ultimately, also knowing what that capital V voice is when it comes to you and your life and what you want to express over the course of your life. So if you have enjoyed today's video, subscribe to my channel on YouTube. And if you are dying to ask me some questions, feel free to ask them in the comments, or you can also directly message me through any one of the links that you see in the write-ups with this video. And I will see you next week.